guys are anything like me, and maybe you are a little bit because you're here at this channel, and you're looking to either take back control of your life in your 50s or just redefine it, find a new purpose in your 50s, just some kind of change, then this video is for you, because I'm going to show you how to do it, how I did it, using what I call the monk method. I actually didn't know that's what it was called. I'd been doing it for a very, very long time, majority of my life, but there's a name for it. So let's talk about that now. So on this journey, I'm going to talk about what the monk method is, how you can do it, and the plan I have going forward with it for the next 6 weeks for myself. So you've all heard me talk about this transformation I went through. Sorry, I have Matilda here. That transformation I went through in the last 1.5 to 2 years. And while my journey is never done, by the way, but while my journey may look different than your journey, it probably will. You will have different goals, different life situations, but the same technique I used can be implemented. Now, like I said, I actually didn't know this was a thing. It was just something I figured out, a life hack I figured out to do. So, and it's called monk mode. And so I've had several of you in some of the comments asking me, you know, how did I do it? Or, you know, just like, how do you make these changes you want to implement? Well, this is kind of my strategy, my protocol that I put together, not really knowing it was a strategy until I just kept repeating it over and over. And what's really cool about this is you can use it for so many things. And once I talk about it, I'll tell you the different variations that you can spin on it, but it's the same thing, and you can just keep repeating it over and over and over in your life for different aspects of your life. And then at the end of this, I'm going to tell you what I'm planning for the next 6 months going, or excuse me, 6 weeks going forward, and lay my plan out for you. And if you guys want to do your own 6 weeks with me, that'd be really cool. I'd love to hear what your goals are and what you want to do. So let's get into what it is and how to do it. Okay, so step number 1 is you have to decide what your goal is. What do you want to accomplish during this time frame? Now, typically, you can do it anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months. I have found that 6 weeks is about the sweet spot. It's because as I get into this, you'll understand, but it's the perfect amount of time to maintain it and be all in without life getting in the way and making it more difficult. At the end of those 6 weeks, you can continue and start a new one. Give yourself a few day break, a week break, and start over again if you want. You can redefine your goals. You know, you can just jump right into another one if you want, but I found 6 weeks is like the perfect amount of time. What you want to do is you want to figure out what is your goal, and you want it clearly defined. So I'm going to give you some examples, all right? So for example, one of the things in the past I used this for was healing my back. During that time period, I had to figure out, first of all, what was going on with my back, and that's where I went inside and realized it was stress. And then I had to figure out what I was going to do about it, and that's where I got into deep meditation, getting in the gym, different things. And so during that monk mode period, I just hunkered down and said, I am fixing my back. And that was my main goal, and I really didn't have any other goals at that time, but to fix my back. A goal could be you're going to get in shape and or lose weight, you know, so you could spend those 6 weeks for that. Now, we're going to get into why and how this works in a little bit, but I'm just giving you ideas because step 1 is to define your goals. You've got to know what you're going to do over the 6 week period. So again, it could be getting in shape, you know, maybe you want to run a triathlon, I don't know, whatever it is, okay? Or losing some weight, realistic goal if that's what you want to do, or just change your eating habits, eat healthier, whatever it is. You know, for me, again, another goal was to start a YouTube channel. So that was a goal, and as you all know, I committed to 90 days of that. I know I said do 6 weeks, but for this one, I figured 90 days was best. You know, that was another one. I want to start a YouTube channel. That was a goal. As far as transforming your life in your 50s, maybe your goal is, I want to find out what I want to do going forward, and I want to start pursuing that. So maybe your goal is just spending those 6 weeks figuring out how you want to spend the rest of your life. Maybe those 6 weeks is you know what you want to do, and then it's figuring out how you're going to do it, what you have to put in place. What does that look like? Do I need to go back to school? What do I need to do? Do I need to change my finances? What do I need to do to transform who I am? Maybe it's figuring out your purpose. Maybe you need those 6 weeks to figure out your purpose. And we're going to get into more of that in a second, but maybe that's your goal. Like, I just want to know what my purpose is, what the meaning of my life is. Maybe it's something very esoteric like that. I know you guys love my decluttering videos. Maybe your goal is to declutter your whole home. Maybe your goal is to declutter your life. In other words, get rid of all the commitments that are overwhelming you and everything that is just energetically draining you. Maybe that's what you need to declutter. So maybe it's both. And you can spend those 6 weeks doing that. You know, if you need to declutter your life, make a list of everything you need to declutter and then systematically start taking care of that. Sorry if you hear Matilda barking in the background, she's playing. You know, maybe one of your goals over the 6 weeks is mapping out a plan of how to move forward in the vision you have of your life. And so you're going to spend those 6 weeks figuring out what it is and then mapping out the plan and investigating anything you need to research or know in order to implement it and be able to move forward. Okay, we've talked about step 1. You have to have a clear, defined goal. Now, before we move on to step 2, I want to actually explain to you, what is monk mode? What is it? Well, what do you think of when you think of a monk? You think of someone up usually in a mountain, in a monastery, praying all day, or, you know, very quietly going about their day. Well, that's kind of the philosophy of it. So I learned how to do this. Again, it was just intuitive decades ago. When I wanted to accomplish something, I learned to just shut all the noise out, because that is basically what you're doing. You're shutting all the noise out and you're just laser focused on that goal for whatever that time period is. This is one of the reasons people go on retreats. You know, they go for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, because they are in a controlled environment where they can then focus on whatever they're trying to accomplish on that retreat. Well, you probably can't go away for 6 weeks. If you can, do it. Absolutely, just run away right now, because I would if I could too. But if you can't, and you're like me, you can't, then you need to figure out how to control your environment as best you can in order to create a retreat-like environment for 6 weeks to accomplish your goal. I'm going to tell you a story. Do y'all know who Apollo Ano is? So he was an Olympic speed skater. He's an 8-time medalist. He's actually, I believe, still holds the most medaled Winter Olympian in history, I believe. As of right now, he still holds that record. And years ago, I read his book. I've actually met him in person, and he signed my book. Super nice guy. But he's written 2 books, but his first book was called No Regrets. And it basically told the story and the journey of him becoming this Olympic multi-gold medalist, right? And everything he went through. And it's really quite the story. I don't want to ruin it for you in case you want to read the book, and I'll put the link below, or go get it in the library. I don't care. But it's a phenomenal story if you like those kinds of stories. And without giving away too much in there, one of the things he had to finally do, because there were a lot of things pulling him in a lot of directions in life. He was no different than you and I. Let me tell you, it was not by accident that he became the person he became. It was a conscious choice. And one of the things, again, without giving too much of the book away, was that he had to basically sequester himself away, like a retreat type of environment. And this was his father's idea. His father, brilliant man. I believe it was a cabin, I want to say on an island, but it could have been not on an island. But basically, he went there to figure out, is this the life you want, or is this the life you want? Do you want this? Do you want to pursue this gold medal, or do you want this other life? You need to figure it out and get on with it. Again, I don't want to give up too much of the story. Phenomenal book, No Regrets. It's in the description, or go to the library and get it. But that's what he did. He did monk mode. He went into this cabin, and you know, we've all seen those movies where people go away and they're just, they go to a cabin and they're just chopping wood and they're doing very simple things. Well, the reason they're doing it is because they're clearing out the clutter, they're clearing out the noise in their life, and they're going inside and they're figuring out things and they're getting the answers. So sometimes this 6th week of your monk mode can just be that, getting the answers to your life that you've been looking for. And I'm going to tell you, the only way you're going to get those answers is to quiet all the noise. And that's the noise in social media, the noise on your phone, your friends, your family, your co-workers, everyone, everywhere, obviously news, and just go inside because you have all the answers inside. So maybe that's what you're going to do. You're just going to go for 6 weeks to figure out what the heck you want in life. And that was an example. But sometimes people go on retreats to actually accomplish something over those 6 weeks. They go to a retreat so they can spend that week or 10 days or 2 weeks just really dialing in to what they want to accomplish. And that's the more active way to do it. And there is no right or wrong. It depends on what your goal is. Okay, that's what monk mode is. Now, let's move on to step 2. Okay, now that you know what your goal is, and it's a very defined, this is what I want to accomplish over those 6 weeks, now you need to set up your non-negotiables. That's step 2. Non-negotiables are those daily things that you are going to do no matter what. So I'm going to give you some I highly recommend, and one is 30 minutes, preferably first thing in the morning, either meditation or even just quiet time. I'll do either meditation or I sit on my front porch first thing in the morning. It's still dark outside half the time, and I just quietly have my cup of coffee and I'm in the moment. Whatever, but I highly recommend you just have that, either meditative or quiet moment, and at least 30 minutes of a day. The second thing I'm going to recommend is 30 minutes of exercise. Now, it can be simply a very easy walk, not even a power walk, just a slow walk. If you don't hardly move at all, maybe it's just moving around your house for 30 minutes, picking up things, and that's your exercise. Whatever it is, it doesn't have to be crazy. We just want to, get some exercise in our day and get oxygen flowing through our body, get that oxygen to our brain, and help us be more productive in what we want to accomplish during this time. Another non-negotiable I'm going to really recommend is no alcohol, and if you smoke weed, no weed either. You want to be fully 100% who you are, thinking and really getting into this 6 weeks. Now, I can't make anyone do it. I'm just suggesting it, but that's what I would recommend. And that's going to be your non-negotiables. So think of a couple of more. Don't have too many. Some people like to say no caffeine, something like that. But these are the things that no matter what, this is how it's going to be every day for 6 weeks. Step 3, define your human interaction. So remember how I said this was kind of like a retreat? Well, sometimes people go on silent retreats where it's just themselves, and then sometimes you go on retreats where there's a lot of other people. Well, even then, you still have to limit some of your interactions in order to get out of it what you need. So we have to interact with people unless you can just go away somewhere for 6 weeks where no one is. I'm going to recommend this. I'll tell you a little story about this. I have a brother who walks all over the world. He's walked the Appalachian Trail beginning to end, I want to say 3 or 4 times, and then he's walked parts of it more than that. And because he'll be walking for 6 months or so at a time, one of the things he has said is that when he goes away, he runs into people, but for the most part, 80, 90, probably 95% of his day, he's just in his own thoughts and quiet solitude, being in the moment, that when he comes back into civilization, I think I might have mentioned this on another video, he's just blown away by being aware of how assaulted we are by commercialism and just news and everything. But when we're in it, we don't really notice it. So what we want to do is we want to define our human interaction. How much are we going to interact with actual physical beings like in front of us and also through electronics? So let's talk about that. If you work and you can't avoid people, you can't avoid people, right? But maybe if you go out to lunch with coworkers or something, or you have times during your workday that you socialize a little bit, during breaks or whatever, maybe you'll choose not to do that and go spend that time in solitude, taking a walk or meditating or something. You have to figure this out, but think of be creative. If you know, or family members, you know, when I go through this, I pretty am straight up, you know, and they may look at me like I'm loony and I don't really care, but I'll just say to my husband or son, hey, I'm going to be in my office, or I'm going to be in whatever room, or I'm going to be wherever for the day, just doing my thing, you know, unless you absolutely need me, I'd appreciate not being disturbed. And I just really, you know, I have food planned so I don't have to worry about cooking and interacting then. And I just get in that mode of going within myself and not interacting with my family, you know, as interacting with them as very little as I need to during that time frame. Now, you could say, I'm going to do it, and then on Sundays, I'll spend time with my family or whatever to make up the difference. You have to figure it out for your dynamics of your family, but definitely get creative and figure out how you could do it. I'm going to tell you something, going back to Olympic athletes. I remember a long time ago, I watched about different Olympic athletes, and there was this common theme, and that was that you have to be selfish to accomplish things. And I think you have to be selfish to actually become the person you are, and then that actually gives back to the people you love. We give away our control by letting people suck our time and energy, and we never put into ourselves, which then means we don't give back to the people we love the best version of who we are. And that's what we want to do. So while it might seem selfish in the moment, it's actually going to benefit those that love you in the long run. And if they love you, they probably are happy you're doing this, or want you to do it, or glad you do it, probably secretly been hoping you would work on X, Y, or Z. So just figure out your human interaction. That's the real human interaction. And then we have to think about the human interaction in social media. Sorry, Matilda's barking. So, you know, how often are you going to check your emails? If you absolutely have to check emails every day, limit it. Say, I'm going to check my emails at 8:30 and 4 in the afternoon, twice a day for 30 minutes. At the end of 30 minutes, I'm done. I don't look at them again. Social media, I'm going to log on to Facebook. If you absolutely have to, any of your social media platforms, I'm going to log in at this time and put the time you're going to do it every day, and this long a period of time, 30 minutes, and then I'm done, and I'm not looking at it again. You know, so you got to figure that out. The less, the better. Obviously, I would say no news at all, anywhere, in any form, off your phone, off TV, off the internet, anywhere, and radio, whatever you listen to. And then, you know, YouTube. You can still watch me. No, I'm kidding. If you can save them, watch them later after your 6 weeks, if that's what you need to do. But just say, I'm going to just watch YouTube for, you know, once a day at this time at 2 in the afternoon, I don't know, at 7 at night for 1 hour, and that's it, no more. You have to decide that, okay? But you definitely have to get par down to being alone with yourself and not having outside influences as much as you absolutely can. And you have to define it, and then you stick to it. You say, that's what I agreed to for 6 weeks. We are going to now define our variables. So we had our non-negotiables. Those are the ones I highly recommend. Now the next ones you're going to pick, depending on you, your goals and everything. And I recommend no more than 6 of these you pick. So what are your variables? Well, let's talk about that. It could be, I'm going to get up at 5 a.m. and go to bed at 9. That's one variable that you're going to stick with. Maybe you're going to have a specific diet regimen that you're going to say, I'm going to only eat 3 times a day, or 1 time a day. You're going to do some intermittent fasting. So, you know, to help with your cognition as you're going through that. Maybe that's one of the things you're going to do, one of your variables. Maybe one of your variables is that you're going to do X amount of times a day. I don't know, maybe you're going to do 100 sit-ups twice a day. That's a variable. It's a non-negotiable variable. Variable meaning because you get to pick it. You want to make these variable things that are going to help you achieve what you want to achieve, and or eliminate, so there are things you might be adding in that you're going to do that will help you with your goals, or take away things you don't want it distracting you or being a part of your day so that it will help you achieve your goal. So come up with 6 of them. Okay, step 6 is easy. It's just decide on your starting date. I recommend that once you watch this video, if you decide you're going to do it, then you do it within the next 3 days. Decide your starting date, sit down and write out these steps, decide your starting date, and begin. The reason I say within 3 days is what I recommend, because as the more time goes by from watching this video, the less you'll probably you'll lose your enthusiasm to do it, and the less likely it will to actually happen. So I always say, strike while the iron is hot, as they say. Just go for it when you're feeling it. Now, as promised, I'm getting ready to start this tomorrow, a new 6 weeks. So if you want to follow along and do your own with me, I'd love to hear in the comments what you want to do, what your goals are, what you're going to try to achieve over this 6 weeks. This is an incredibly powerful way to take back your power and start transforming your life just like you want to. And again, at the end of the 6 weeks, do the next thing you need to do to transform. So let me tell you what I'm planning for myself. So I've been on this transformation journey, but I still have a long way to go. I'll probably be doing this my whole life. And it never gets finished. You just keep getting better at it, right? So I have some goals that I want to start stepping into next. So my first goal is actually, so this YouTube thing's kind of just taking off, and it kind of gave me an aha moment, and I talked about it in yesterday's video. Like, this could potentially be a stepping off point for me in being able to start living that nomadic life I want and letting go of other ways of earning an income and part of my retirement. And so because this is doing fairly well, because of all you watching, and I'm actually really enjoying it. So I think I want to move further into content creating. So one of my goals is to spend 20 hours a week researching, figuring out what this is going to look like for me. What does it mean for me? How am I going to do this going forward? Learning how to make better content, learning anything I need to learn in order to move forward. And I'm going to commit to 20 hours a week over the next 6 weeks of investing in that time and investing in order to learn what I need to learn and figure out where this is going. So you have to have actionable steps with your goals. So my actionable step is I'm going to spend 20 hours. Now I could say certain hours a day, but it's going to vary. So I'm just going to make sure that by the end of a week, I've spent 20 hours researching what I need to research and figuring out where that's going. My second goal is that I want to, again, move forward with being a content creator and actually earning an income from it. I don't know how that's going to happen yet, right? So I'm going to sit down and come up with my actionable steps is I'm going to come up with 3 revenue streams based on content creating, not necessarily just YouTube. And then I'm going to outline it, clearly define it, research it, and I'm going to have, at the end of 6 weeks, the 3 ways I'm going to create revenue from being a content creator, whether on YouTube or any other way of creating. And, of course, it's got to be authentic to who I am and only feel like I'm serving and helping people. So I have to figure that out. So that's my second goal. And again, my actionable steps, because you have to have actionable and meaningful steps, and that is to spend the 20 hours. The third one is my third goal is not something I actually talk with any of you that often about, but let me just step back a second here. So you might have heard me talk in videos before, like I love clothes. That's kind of like my thing. But when I was going through my transformation and maybe right before it too, I hit kind of like rock bottom about caring about my style and how I looked, because all of a sudden all the designer stuff and all the image I had been did not feel authentic to me anymore. And I kind of went through a very long period, a year and a half, of not even really knowing then who I am and that I wanted to present to the world. In other words, how do I want to dress? How do I want to look? What is really me? And what was I presenting before that wasn't, and what was? Some of it was authentic and a lot of it wasn't. And so I kind of got to that point where I cut my own hair. I may still do that, but I don't get my nails done. I've just kind of been doing the bare minimum. Obviously, I keep myself neat and clean and I put a little makeup on, but I haven't put much thought into any of my fashion. I haven't really bought anything new. I just don't, just didn't know where I wanted to go. I just didn't have the desire for the longest time. Well, now that I'm pushing through on that transformation, I now want to step back into the world again and start presenting myself in a way that feels good again. And so I need to reevaluate that. So my third goal is I'm going to go through my closet, and I might video this for you. I'm not going to promise I will. But I'm going to go through my closet and I'm going to assess what I have. I'm going to clearly define who I am now, and what that looks like moving forward as far as it goes to my style and clothes and everything. And then I'm going to kind of get rid of anything in my closet that doesn't work, and I'm going to start curating any pieces I need to start getting slowly within my budget and picking them up to actually present a refreshed version of the new me, because I do love clothes. I love fashion. I really love fashion. But this time it's going to be authentically who I am, that I am presenting to the world, and not this image that, of me trying to fit in and be normal, but really who I am. So that's my third goal. All right. That's what I'm going to do. I'm starting tomorrow. And so if you guys are going to do any monk method and you have some goals and you want to share them, I'd love to read about them in the comments below. I appreciate everyone commenting. I don't get to all comments. Honestly, I can get to the first few ones of every video, whatever comes up within the first 24 hours, and then it's harder for me to keep up. But I try. But I would love to read and know what you guys are going to do. And thank you, and I will see you in tomorrow's video.